Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is May the 12th, 2017. I'm coming live from Beersheba, Israel. Wow. And I have three special guests from all around North America joining me. Blake Anderson, Tone Vays, and BTC Benny of BTC Sessions. He's in Calgary. Tone's in New York. Blake, where are you at?
I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
All right, home of the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Vikings. So let me ask you something. Home of the 1991 world champion Minnesota Twins and 1987 world champion Minnesota Twins also. You must be pumped about Bitcoin, just like you were in 1991 when the Twins won the World Series in 7 games over the Atlanta Braves.
I made a lot of Bitcoin off of that, sports fiasco, but 1991 Bitcoins, they were worth a lot, and then it went back down to almost zero before Satoshi rescued it. So I mean, that's a good story for people that don't know anything about Bitcoin and aren't going to ask any questions.
Yes, both teams, the Braves and the Twins, went from worst to first that year. So all the altcoin people out there think their altcoin can go from worst to first. What a comparison. But tell us though, how this week in Bitcoin, Blake Anderson, has been really wild. I mean, it's like schizophrenic sometimes. We're started, I don't know, what did we start at, 1600 or something? Now we're at 1800, but it dropped to 1750. People are sad when it drops to 1750. What is the mood you're getting as a guy that's out there, going to these, on the shows and everything? You're a player out in the space. What do you feel like's going on out there?
I just feel like there's a lot of money going into the categorically superior transfer systems of value. I mean, cryptocurrency is new. People are discovering it. They're discovering Bitcoin and then altcoins, and then the differences between and stuff like that. The entire crypto market cap of all the coins combined is going up by billions of dollars every single day. I think that people are just noticing, we've got 21 million coins, slowing rate till 2140. 15 million of them are already, spoken for or gone or mined. A lot of people lost astronomical amounts of Bitcoin when computers and stuff blew up a long time ago. I mean, there's not, an infinite number of this stuff around. And I think that the just basic general economics of the system, when taken across long horizons, are always going to return well. And I think that these repeated deflationary spirals where multiple factors are pushing the price parabolic, and that's going to continue to happen. I mean, there'll be corrections, but I don't see any reason to expect for that to stop happening anytime soon.
Now, Tone Vays, obviously you're a calm but happy guy. You're pleased with the status quo, but you don't get too excited. On the other hand, like me, you're a content creator. You get a lot of contacts from trollish people, from excited people, from people trying to scam. It has seemed this week, it has gone up exponentially. Some of the stuff that's rolling around out there. There are a lot of newbies coming to the space. There are a lot of bitter oldies. What is your take on all this, on this wild week?
Well, I was actually just at the Toronto meetup, which is absolutely amazing. It breaks records every time they do it. And they were over 500 people for a 3-hour event. Now, they did pack a lot of speakers into that 3-hour event. To be honest, there was one patients that out of 8 that I felt were worth listening to. And half that room is filled with Ethereum. There's a couple of things I'm realizing right now, mostly because of this ICO boom. That ICO event right after Consensus, the full day ICO event, Tizen is speaking there, and he's like, "Hey, Tone, I tried getting you a ticket, but they're totally overbooked. They're totally sold out." And it's the ICO event, which is and there's a couple of things, when people at the front of the room, there's 500 people in the audience, and someone asked the question, how many people own Ethereum? And 30-40% of the hands went up. And then when Francis went up to do his presentation, Francis from Bitcoin, from the Montreal embassy over there.
He's been on the show. He's been on the show before. Great guy.
Right.
Great guy.
He's great. He had the only presentation worth watching at that event. At least in my opinion. And I can't believe he took off his user-activated soft fork. But he asked the audience, how many of you know what UASF stands for? That's the user-activated soft fork. And like maybe 5% of the hands went up. But remember, 40% of the hands went up that own Ethereum. And almost no one knows like what's going on in Bitcoin scaling, but they own Ethereum. And showed me like another revelation that I came to like just this week is I finally understand how the .com bubble came to be. And how these like companies
Tone, was that a shocking revelation to you when you saw that so many people did not know about the current development of Bitcoin, or of SegWit of UAS or of the user activated software? Did that surprise you?
It was a shock. It was surprising to me in relation to how many people knew all about Ethereum. Okay. Like it's one thing when Adam Meister asks people, well, have you heard of any other coin besides Bitcoin? And someone will say, yeah, I heard of Litecoin, and yeah, I heard of Ethereum. But those people aren't expected to know what's going on in the Bitcoin scaling world. In altcoins, you should at least know what's going on with the dominant player in the space, which is Bitcoin, like by miles. Is the dominant player. So if you're going to be investing in altcoins and you're attending a Bitcoin meetup, you should at least have an idea of what's going on in the scaling world, right? Like to an average person, you're right, but to that specific crowd is what I'm referencing to. So just to close off,
does the fact that they didn't change your thoughts about alt trading?
What do you mean?
It is the fact that these people that owned altcoins or Ethereum, that they didn't know about the most recent developments that are going on that may have a long-term impact on the value propositions. People not knowing that have a material stake in Ethereum about those things. Does that change your opinion about the alt market in terms of people are putting in material money without really knowing what's going on? And I think that
Oh, go ahead. Me that it's even more. It's telling me that it's even stupider money than I thought it was. That's basically what it's telling me.
No, which is fine, and that's a reasonable conclusion.
Yeah, there's just the one last thing on these ICOs is that in comparison to the .com bubble, I now understand how in the year 1999 and 2000, and a bullshit plan without customers and nothing ended up with hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. And those were even real dollars. Like we're not even talking real dollars here, right? Like we were talking off air with like the Genosis coin, that their valuation is like 300 million, but in reality they only sold 5%. So it's not like it's a fake valuation. So, but back then they actually, not only were these valuations insane with these companies that did nothing trading on the NASDAQ for like $80, $90 a share, but even companies that got like hundreds of millions of dollars of real money handed to them had like no plan and no idea and nothing. It was just money given to them because they had a fancy .com. I now fully like see how that happens. Like it's because none of these people that are doing ICOs were old enough back then to even, have a job. And these are the people that are doing it now.
They don't remember pets.com, I mean, pets.com, that's all you need to be.
Dude, and I looked up Pets.com wasn't even like on the top 10 list of like insanity. I actually, maybe I'll do a screenshot a little bit later. I just was looking for this article to compare it. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And the thing is, all of those companies, they exist today. Part of other businesses, or they actually have business models. But back then, they were just dreams that got hundreds of millions of dollars and no expertise to do it and no like qualifications to get it done. And it was just money that these people used to party with, and then their businesses collapsed.
Tone, I think I like this point that you bring up, that the people, they know about Ethereum, but they don't know about the insides of what's going on with Bitcoin. And if they're at a Toronto conference, you'd think they would know a little bit more about Bitcoin. At the same time, we have had people tell us that everything's horrible with Bitcoin. The status quo is terrible because of this SegWit debate. But yet you're seeing out in the open that people don't even know about the debate. They're totally satisfied with the cryptocurrency market as it is. Now, you might not agree why that they should be satisfied because they're just jumping into Ethereum, you think. But at the same time, the FUD that some people try to spread about the current state of Bitcoin it doesn't seem to be catching on. Now, I want to transition to BTC Benny, who has been very patient here. Obviously, you encounter a lot of new people. Also, you reach out to new people. Do you have any comments on what Tone said, and what have you been seeing out there in terms of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exuberance this week? And the questions that you're getting asked, because I keep on getting asked the same questions. What do you think the price of Litecoin will be next week? What do you think the price of Ethereum will be next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with Tone right now. Honestly, between my channel and I've been working with and helping out a local company here. Actually, they're starting to get pretty big, but anyway, they're called BitNational, and so they're the #1 provider of Bitcoin ATMs in Canada. So basically, they have, I think, something like 13, 14 Bitcoin ATMs just in my city, Calgary here. They've got 20 something out in Vancouver. They've got a bunch in Edmonton, and they're just growing like crazy. But I've been helping them out with the tech helpline has been coming to my phone, which has been ringing off the hook the past few. It's insane. I have to put my phone, if I'm actually doing something, it has to be on airplane mode because I can't get anything done. So it's been insane and crazy busy, which is awesome. But you also see there's a lot of people with a lot of money to throw around, and they don't know any of the background and the even just the fundamental monetary policy behind some of these coins. Like, a lot of people are coming in and they don't even know that Bitcoin has a hard cap and that the issuance gets halved every 4 years. They don't know that. And then they're talking about buying Ethereum and other coins. And then on top of that, the same people that are saying, oh, I should buy Ethereum and I should buy whatever else, they don't know that Ethereum does not have a hard cap. They don't know the difference between any other cryptocurrencies. I had somebody call in the other day and they said, oh, how do I trade in my billion coin for Bitcoin at one of your ATMs? And I was like, that's not how it works. Like, you can put in cash and get Bitcoin, but what is, and I didn't even know what billion coin was. I had to look it up. The lady told me that she bought 4 of the billion coin for $40 and that each one was now worth 30,000 Canadian dollars. And I was like, hold on here. And I went to CoinMarketCap and it's like down at number 500 and something. It says that there's the number of billion coin in circulation is 0, and then they're valued at 1/10 of a cent, and that there was no volume. And like, yeah, so it's just, people they see dollar signs, they see the price of Bitcoin and altcoins going up, and a lot of people, they have a lot of money and they're just throwing it at stuff. And it's crazy to see the amount of money being thrown around. And I do my best when I'm talking to people to say, well, listen, like, you need to look into and understand what you're putting your money into, because it's the Wild West still. And there's a lot of people out there that they'll just take your money. You got to be careful. And not only that, but understand if it is something that's been around for a while, like, if you're looking at Ethereum, are you investing in it because you think it's going to be more valuable in a few weeks, or are you investing in it because you believe the long-term potential of Ethereum is there, right? You gotta look into it and look deeper than just, oh, the dollar signs are going in an upward direction. Right?
And what do people like Warren Buffett say stuff like, invest in something that you think is going to grow, that you're really excited about, that you think the technology is tenable or whatever, and invest on like a 10-year horizon. Like, that's a little bit extreme, but it lets people have invest in stuff that you don't think is just going to go up really, really, really hardcore ephemerally, because that's gambling. I mean, the ephemeral investment horizons and something like Bitcoin. I mean, don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, there's a difference between investing and trading. Yeah, Tone.
Hey, so you brought up a very good point, and this is one of the things that I'm dealing with right now. Well, a couple of things. Like, one of the things I'm dealing with, the moment Bitcoin moves like $50, I'm getting like messages across every communication platform known to man, asking me what I think about the price of Bitcoin. And most of these people are like even my friends. Like if it's like strangers, I'm like, I ain't got time for this, right? But even now, I have a really good rapport with like a lot of people. And I'm not going to name any names, but you know who you are. And you are also somewhat prominent people. So I don't want to be like, you know, a dick to like people that I respect and I listen to them. But you guys have to realize that there's just one of me. And when I get like 8 messages within an hour, and it could be like, I could be like doing a drive. I was just doing a drive from Toronto, like a 10-hour drive. And like I stopped like twice, and each time there was at least like 15 messages I had to reply to between email and Telegram and everything else, right? And Twitter. And everyone's asking me about the price. And I'm like, like I like everyone and I'm trying to answer them quickly, but it's just impossible for me. So I'm like, look, I look at the charts like twice, 3 times a week, and I tweet it out, or I just inform everyone, just follow me. I can't answer everyone individually because it's literally impossible.
Oh, sorry, continue.
That was my side thing. Actually, I had a question for Ben, but go ahead, Adam.
Well, I wanted to say real quick, pound that like button, people, if you like this kind of frank talk. I love this behind the scenes stuff. I am also getting inundated by the same questions over and over again. Like when it jumps $50, it goes down $50. Should I sell? Did I miss my opportunity? Continue Tone, pound that like button, people.
Adam, you see, you have an out. You're like, well, I don't know what the price will do. Go look at Tone Vays, right? But a lot of people are doing that, so that everybody comes to me.
No, that's a good out, and I do. I refer to you in a lot of videos. So ask your question for Ben. Yeah, we're flowing here.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So you just had this experience with Billion Coin, right?
Yeah.
And here's the dilemma. Like, it's obvious that Billion Coin and what happened to that lady is a straight up scam, right?
Yeah.
And we know that Bitcoin is as legit as they get.
Yeah.
When it comes to crypto, right? We may all be scammed one day. Who knows, right? I mean, we don't know, but it's as legit as one can get right now, right? So do you draw the line? Where do you draw this line between Billion Coin? So the way I drew my line is Bitcoin is the only one I actually consider a store of value and I believe has a future. I consider Monero and Litecoin for Bitcoin. And the only reason I consider it is because all of their variables are defined. They've kind of passed the test of time a little bit. They've been fairly stable. They've been around. They've gone through ups and downs. They seem to have somewhat legitimate people running them and like maintaining the code. And also, they did not have a scammy beginning. I mean, Monero had a little thing in the beginning, but that person was immediately kicked out, right?
Yeah.
No other token in the space, to me, meets those requirements. And meeting those requirements doesn't make you a good investment. It just means that it's useful. It doesn't make it a good investment, right? But everything else, to me, right now, falls below the scam line. Something good. I have two test nets of value and Litecoin, and everything else falls below the scam line. Maybe something else will rise above the scam line. I don't know. But that's where I draw my line. And people seem to always want to fight with me on this line, like they're going to be the one guy that's going to change my mind.
Yeah. I would. By and large, I agree with your stance on things. I would say I try to look at things with an open mind. I think that immediately writing off every coin is tunnel vision, right? Like I'm not going to say that Bitcoin is going to be the one, but right now looking at everything, I see that Bitcoin has the best value proposition and the most promise, I think. And I don't think that anything has come close to having real world value and utility yet. Not to say that it won't happen down the road, but you know, like when I look at it and when I have people asking me about that kind of thing, I say, well, okay, what are you looking at? First of all, the person needs to do their own own research, because there's so many coins coming out now and so many ICOs and stuff like that. I don't have the time to be well versed enough in all of them to give that kind of advice. So I just give kind of general guidelines. Number one, you need to find out, is it a full-on scam? Is it super obvious? Number one, is there a blockchain? Can you go into a block explorer and actually see that it's working? Is it open source? Is it, what's the team behind it? Are those people reputable? Things like that. Just basic things where you should be able to find those answers quickly and easily. But then beyond that, I say, well, how long has this thing been around for? Does it have a bit of a track record? Like you're saying, did it have a scammy beginning? Is there questionable things that happened in the early days of that coin? What's it being used for? What could it be used for? And why is it even credible that somebody would think it would be used for that versus something else like a layer on top of Bitcoin down the road? So I just try to get people to think objectively about it and come to their own conclusions. For myself, I've dabbled here and there in altcoins, but pretty much 99% of the time I've been all in Bitcoin, and that's how I am today. So yeah, I try to push them down the right path to ask the right questions, so that down the line, they're not coming to me again saying, what about this one? They can ask their own questions and be informed.
Well, let me say something. It's good that I'm glad you try to lead by example so they don't ask the same questions, but there's so many new people flooding in. Just now on the chat, someone asked, what do you think of Genesis mining? This is a question that is asked all the time. It's basically a scam, people. There's no point in getting into any cloud mining. But I'm asked about cloud mining every day, even in this chat. I mean, so this chat is pretty advanced. If you know about this show, you know a little bit about Bitcoin, but still people want that they actually, Tone was saying how people are trying to convince him to change his mind or whatever. I think everyone out there's a little piece of everyone that wants these ICOs to be 100% legit and wants someone who has a show, and not that we're special or anything, but just to approve of it. And it's not gonna happen, people. Don't waste your breath saying, well, what do you think about this ICO? When it's already kind of shady. I'm not going to change my mind. I can't tell people to get into ICOs. It's just too risky. It would be irresponsible of me. But Blake, no, Anderson, I want to transition. Yeah, Blake, that's
what we need to tell people to do. What we need to tell people to do is bring their ICO scam ideas to us, because we'll totally just, we'll market them for you. And then when we read them, we're going to be like, oh, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more critical than you thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
Blake, I want you to say something about the inflationary nature of some of these coins that people totally overlook. They just ignore. There have been charts going around Twitter this week. I don't know if all of you saw them, but it's just comparing how inflationary, how there's no limits on some of these coins that are all of a sudden going through the roof in terms of market cap. I mean, this is going to end pretty badly. Blake, give people a simple explanation.
I guess the best example to go for is, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I mean, I don't hate Ethereum. I don't have any emotions about it, but there's a block reward that has a tapering effect. 2009 to 2140, 21 million Bitcoins. There's an upper limit on how many Bitcoins can be created. With Ethereum, there's not yet a taper set into the block reward. It's just going to continue to spit out Ethereum until they either change that or just forever. So it's not just that people are, holding Ethereum, and then people like me and Tone maybe are suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, wherein it's like, okay, we're reasonably well informed in this area, so we assume that everybody else is just as well as informed as we are, which is not true. It's a misjudgment about other people. Stupid people do the same thing, but on the other end of the spectrum, they think that they're
right.
Really,
I thought Dunning-Kruger was the opposite of what you just described.
So,
but okay,
it's a spectrum that goes to both. Really, really stupid people are like, I cannot see my own incompetence. I'm going to go rule the world because everybody's an idiot, because they can't see why they're incorrect about that stance. On the other end,
right. So on the flip side, right? The .com bubble is coming, and you're screaming about it 1 or 2 years too early, and you don't get rich, but you also don't get slaughtered. Who then runs to the government and then creates all this regulation?
But at the same time, you could be sitting there and you could be like, okay, nobody else is going to act stupidly because I've seen that this is stupid and they're not going to do that. And then you see a whole bunch of people flood into something. You're like, oh, I could have made it, ephemerally, I could have made gains in there because people do not act the way that I thought that they do because I've become too informed about this area. I've become, at the top end of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Being too far in either direction, I mean, it can cause issues. So when we talk about, the inflationary nature of some and then the deflationary nature of some others, I mean, those are material things. Those are very important. And I think that when people that are just getting into Ethereum, they see how well it's performed over the last several months, and they say, hey, it's not, unreasonable for me to assume that at this rate of growth, it's going to pass Bitcoin eventually. But it's like, oh, hold your horses there. There's a few more factors to consider here than just how did it perform over this length of time. You have to take the entire scope of information into consideration. So with Tone, I mean, I guess I was I would have thought maybe a little bit more people would have heard about the development things, especially if they were at a Bitcoin conference. But then again, people going to Bitcoin conferences, if they don't regularly go to them like Tone, maybe they're going there because they're new to Bitcoin and they want to go and physically be somewhere where they can talk to people and maybe trade some. So I think that our community is very, 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 very small, and it's going to get bigger and 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 bigger. So what we kind of have to do, unfortunately, is tamper down what we're saying to be a little bit more simple, to be a little bit more noobish, to be a little bit more just not deep into the what if bag, and continually talk about the market cap, the 140 million coins, and about how the fundamental differences of the other coins can have value propositions. But you don't want to just instantly assume that some coin is dog shit without doing any research, or that some coin is going to be really, really great. You really have to look into why was this designed, where is the value add, and where's the long-term value proposition going to come in. But people say if you do that, then you miss out on the pump and dumps. But if you miss out on the pump and dumps, like that's what you don't want to do. What you don't want to do
even if you assume,
you don't want to be so critical of things that you're losing out. If you're so critical of things that there's money that you could have made that you're not getting, that's not an optimal situation. But at the same time, you don't want to go out and tell people, hey, invest in dog shit. So, I mean, you really, really, really have to try to land right in the middle of those two things. And like, I think maybe 9 months ago, I said I'll have a 12-month horizon of an investment in Ripple. And I don't think that Ripple's ever going to pass Bitcoin, but I just thought I'll put some money in there. And people got really mad at me. I think Bitcoin Error Log said it's good to see the people who just don't get it. And I was like, I'm not trying to say that this was going to go above and beyond Bitcoin. I do think that Ripple is going to go up, and Ripple did go up. I now own 0 Ripple. And it's just interesting to me to see just mentioning, hey, let me just disclose that I'm holding this, to see some people that are, a little bit more hardcore maximalists say, you're dead to me almost. It's like that. I think there's maybe a medium here. We could be like, Bitcoin is the king, but, don't go, nuts on people for wanting to look at and talk about other things without emotionality attached.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You be objective and I mean, you were using it. It seemed like it was a trading vehicle for you at the time. Is that correct? Yeah. So
I want to sidestep with a little bit of currency into specifically that, because I've worked with banks before and bank project management, and that's what they're doing. I know they had courted Wells Fargo and that didn't go well, but then they were courting some other banks and it was going well. It seemed like a decent investment, and I don't think that we should be going around attacking each other for diversifying into things that maybe aren't tenable long term, but ephemerally you can make money.
We shouldn't be. The people shouldn't be attacking each other in the community. I will say this week there have been so many new people coming into the space. We got to be careful, though, not to bring up too many things at once, because some people are very confused coming in. Just as BTC Benny said, some people don't really get that Bitcoin is capped. They don't understand what a Bitcoin halving is. Like, I bring up the year 2020, people have no clue. It's like, why are you bringing up 2020? What happened in 2016? What is this halving? Tone, I want you also to address some FUD that's going around. Speaking of newbies or people that don't change their minds, Peter Schiff attacked Bitcoin hardcore this week. but so say what you're going to say, Tone, and then address Peter Schiff.
I'm not sure if I should. I don't want to go off on a tangent. I was going to follow up on what Blake said. Maybe I'll expand on it in my podcast. But I was going to, Peter Schiff thing is simple. I mean, Bitcoin is interrupting his business model of preparing people for the end of the financial system by buying gold. So Bitcoin is a major problem for Peter Schiff. And Peter Schiff ended up in a position where he's doubling down because he's wrong. And you keep doubling down until either you're right or you're proven to be a joke. Now, every 8 years or so, Peter Schiff has been proven right with a financial crash, but now it's going on 10 years and still hasn't happened yet. And I think he's going to be wrong for a while longer. But having said that, right, like Blake brought up some really good points. And of it, and I know this is like kind of hypocritical, right? So basically, what I tell people is, look, you trade the stock market, you don't marry a stock, you don't have to believe in this stuff, and I don't either. Like, I trade some stocks, I don't even know what the hell they are. I don't care what they do. I just know that they fit my trading plan from a technical perspective and a cycle perspective, because I trade cyclically. And I don't care what these stocks do. I don't care if the company's a scam or not. I will trade it in the financial markets, right? Because I expect, the SEC to like out, but they don't really do that either. Like, I know they're also somewhat incompetent, but I understand that I can be hypocritical. So for me, maybe this is the problem that Blake was talking about. I might understand the crypto space a little too well to where I know that things like Ethereum are straight up not sustainable from a launch perspective, the way it was an unlicensed security, from the entire idea that the world needs decentralized contracts, from the fact that I know that nobody knows what the hell the Ethereum token is. Is it a share of the Ethereum platform? Is it a currency? Is it gas? Nobody knows the answer to this. And nobody does, because nobody knows. The market hasn't even decided yet, right? So
it's a token with an operational connotation, but what that is...
Right. And like, I know that Ethereum is not sustainable, but because I knew this from before Ethereum even launched, it had always prevented me from ever investing in Ethereum, because to me, Ethereum is going to collapse any day. So does that mean that I am like the Peter Schiff of the crypto space, screaming that the dollar is going to collapse, any day, right? And I make fun of Peter Schiff, say that the dollar isn't going to collapse, right? So am I like the Peter Schiff in the crypto space with Ethereum, because maybe I know it's... So I can definitely see how that's a little hypocritical of me to make fun of Peter Schiff for the same thing people can make fun of me. I understand that. So, but I'm not going to change my mind, because I know that if I jump on the Ethereum bandwagon, that is the day it's going to collapse. So perhaps I should do that. Perhaps I should jump on the Ethereum bandwagon just so people can make fun of me, but it will cause the collapse of Ethereum. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
All right. Well, that is an interesting perspective. Are you going to be known as the Peter Schiff of Bitcoin? I don't know if that's a good thing, or it's probably not a good thing. I want to ask.
I like Erwin Schiff.
Oh yeah, rest in peace. Rest in peace.
His comic, How an Economy Grows and Why It Doesn't, is one of the most amazing things I've ever looked at. So if you haven't read Erwin Schiff's comic, How an Economy Grows and Why It Doesn't, it's one of the most important things ever created.
Now that we were just talking about altcoins and everything. Blake, did you check out that link to the Bobby Lee tweet about altcoins?
About pairs?
Yes. To talk about that, explain to people what that is. And do you think it's just a marketing gimmick he's trying to get just to use Twitter to promote his business? Or does Bobby Lee really want to add altcoins to his exchange in China?
I think it might be legitimate in that he wants to feel out what people, want to, what they're saying. He might be feeling out like how many scam coins come in, how many, more legit coins come in with lots of, likes and things like that. But I think what'll happen is a lot of people are going to be like, hey, I want a currency pair my first shit coin against my second shit coin. Like there are going to be people that are going to, so I don't think he's just going to be like, all right, let's just take all these responses and list those coins. Does he need the feedback at all? Is it just marketing? I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but it does seem like a good marketing ploy to just be like, hey, who's interested in this idea? Let's see how much feedback we get, because the internet works good for stuff like that.
Now, everyone, I linked to that tweet below. I also linked to all these guys, the information about Tone and Blake and BTC Benny. If you want to check out the notes section below, always good idea to do that so you can see exactly what we're talking about. Now, in this tweet, he mentioned specific ones like Monero, Steam, Zcash, all all sorts of things he's throwing out there.
Don't forget Doge.
Yeah, Doge. BTC, Benny, what do you think about this?
Honestly, like I think he's just being a businessman. Like if people want to buy something, it's not like you go to, I don't know, it's not like you go to a store and the person selling whatever's in their store, they're 100% behind every single thing they're selling, like at the corner store. I think it's the same kind of thing. Like if somebody wants to buy and trade something and you're in the business of allowing people to trade, then I think a lot of people are going to jump onto the, especially lately with so much money flowing into the altcoin market. You know, as much as I think some of the stuff out there is garbage, if you're a business that deals in that kind of stuff and people want it, then as long as it's not an all out scam where it could just disappear. And it's arguable which of those could be there, but you know, if people want something, then they're going to find it somehow, and you're either going to supply it for them or you're going to lose business. So I think on his part, he's looking at some of these other exchanges that have implemented these other coins and seeing volume, and maybe he just wants to get in on that. I don't know.
He wants some lucky 7 coin action.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, pound that like button. Pound that like button if you like that tweet, or if you don't like the tweet. So Tone, you're not the biggest fan of cheap marketing out there. I'm not saying that was cheap marketing. What do you think about that situation?
I agree with Ben. I mean, it's exactly it. I mean, he's running a business. Same thing with Coinbase, right? I mean, they're running a business, and if they can make more money from the fees, we look at it and say, well, we got better engineers than Poloniex does, and we already have access to the cash market. Why not? I mean, we'll just collect fees. Now, of course, it makes it, the more coins you add, the more risky your business now becomes, because now you got to vet these coins, make sure there's no, malicious code coming in there, kind of what happened to Cryptsy. But you also made a good point saying, well, if people want to buy it, I mean, someone is going to sell it to them. And again, this brings me to the hypocrisy part of the housing bubble, where everyone blamed Goldman Sachs for, selling these packages of mortgages. Well, guess what? If someone wants to buy garbage, there will always be an institution packaging it together and selling you garbage. It's the same thing. I mean, there's nothing new here. Like the concepts of this stuff, they've all been done before, and they've all exploded spectacularly, and they're going to happen again, just to, a younger generation. And then that generation will see it for the next time there is another technological evolution, which, they always come.
Hey, Tom.
We keep getting bubbles.
I wanted to jump in on the mortgage thing really quick. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of, like people will buy dog shit, but there was also, it wasn't just that the packaged mortgages were bad. There were not as many packaged, like here's 100 mortgages, there'd be like 70. It was getting really bad. So yeah, they were buying garbage, but it was even worse than garbage. They were buying less garbage than they even thought they were getting.
No, but it was getting bad towards the end. When it started, as most of them do, it kind of started out as a good product. Let's just add Litecoin. Let's just add Ethereum, and then let's add Billion Coin. It never starts out as it never starts out that way, but it turns into it because people, get more and more anxious for more shit.
Do you think?
Well, Tone, I got a question follow up here. This is Bobby Lee. He's dealing with China here. Has he been given some permission, you think, to all of a sudden open up his bid? They've been a little bit restrictive over there. Now he's talking about adding altcoins.
But Adam, it's always chicken and egg situation, right? Like, he doesn't know if he's going to get permission, but why is he going to go asking for permission if he's not sure he really wants to do it? So he's going to feel both things out slowly. And weigh one against the other, and then weigh it against, his CTO and his and the investors in his company. I mean, he's gonna feel it all out. He's not gonna approach the regulators until he knows the market wants it, and he might approach the regulators with saying, well, the market does want it, and this will bring us more money, and we'll have more money to create an insurance fund. It's kind of it's a back and forth.
Do you think that the, I guess, open source nature of Bitcoin and a lot of the altcoins and the transparency of the space will cause people to become, I guess, better educated with what they're investing. Obviously, right now, there's a ton of money flying around with people who have no idea. But when people inevitably lose money, it's going to cause them to wonder why. Do you think that the eventual crash of an altcoin bubble will cause people moving forward to start being more informed with this kind of stuff? Or do you think it's just always going to be people seeing dollar signs and throwing their money away?
Oh, no. It'll always be people seeing dollar signs and throwing their money away, but it's going to be in a completely different thing after the bubble pops, right? Like right now, it's moving into the ICO market, not as much altcoin. Like right now, it's mostly the ICO, and the altcoins are coming back. Like someone tweeted at me the other day, they're trying to bring back my favorite altcoin of all time, which is Aurora coin. I may have to dig up some old USB sticks. Maybe I'll find some old Aurora coin. I remember when they were going for $100 a coin. They're now on the market for like a penny or two. So people will generally go after something completely different and something completely new. And nobody knows what the next hot thing is going to be, right? Because if we did, we'd already be throwing our money at it. So yeah, people will learn their lesson with the altcoins as long as this altcoin bubble doesn't bring down Bitcoin with it, and I don't think that it will. The way I already described it weeks ago, I either see this thing popping, Bitcoin crashes and brings down everything with it, or the altcoins crash and prop Bitcoin up as they fall. Now, the third that's the most likely scenario. To me, the altcoins popping, bringing up Bitcoin is my most likely scenario. My second scenario is Bitcoin crashing, maybe causing a very minor blip in altcoins as they think, they solve Bitcoin's problems, and then the altcoin crashing way more than Bitcoin. And the least likely scenario is the altcoin bubble crashing by, regulators coming in and like arresting anyone with a pulse that, started one of these scams. And that would cause fear throughout the entire crypto space, completely removing legitimate money that's coming into Bitcoin. Like right now, there's still a lot of people that I know I've gotten these calls like, hey, Tone, I know someone that wants to buy $200,000 worth of Bitcoin. And the first question I ask that person is, well, a suitcase, or is this going to go through the banking system? And almost always the answer is it's going to go through the banking system. And I'm like, okay, then I have a contact for you because now it's a legitimate transaction. I don't really have contacts for the cash transactions, and if I did, I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want to get caught up in some kind of a sting operation.
Tone, get your gun and bring the cash. Let's do it.
And like if the hammer comes down from the government and the regulators, like either a coordinated effort across the world or just America, and a lot of these people start to go down, then the entire crypto space might get nervous, and then all of these kinds of $1,000 legitimate buyers might be very, very cautious, thus cutting off the cash flow into speculative price of Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin can correct, and it will basically it'll come back down to where the underlying economy of Bitcoin, mostly in the gray market, keeps it afloat. And it can keep it afloat at over $1,000 a Bitcoin. But that's what these are just like my scenarios of what I see going forward, probably sometime later this year.
Wow. I just wanted to jump in here because a lot of the stuff that you touched on was true, and I think that we can kind of set it up as like this is like the 20s. Like there was a huge economic like boom in the 20s, but this isn't the 20s. There's technology. It's like the Wild West mixed with the 20s times the crack of the age of information. Like this is not normal economics. It's not like, oh yes, whatever went up like 6% today. Like that's not something that you normally see in large market cap things, it's swinging like that. So I think that the people in the Wild West are going to be like the people here. It's like people are going to have to learn how to shoot. In the Wild West, you had to learn how to shoot. And I think that now in the Wild West of crypto investing and immutable money supplies and one-way transfers and stuff, it's like the Wild West again. And people need to learn about basic security. That sounds scary. It sounds like a lot of work, but I don't see any alternative way forward to the future in which we have decentralized control over money, because obviously centralized control over money has not been very, very good to us. So,
well, I love this about these shows when you guys are on. I don't even have to ask any questions. This is
Blake,
great stuff, man. This is great.
But Blake, see, it's a good point to bring up decentralized control over money. Well, Bitcoin right now is in a battle for its life to keep to its decentralized control over money. Because if Bitcoin Unlimited wins, they now have the same team not only programming the Bitcoin code, the same people are involved in the mining of the Bitcoin, involved in making the mining chips of the Bitcoin, and the same people are involved in one of the biggest media publications in Bitcoin. So the idea that Bitcoin stays decentralized under the Bitcoin Unlimited model disappears. And I think that would basically destroy this idea of having decentralized money until maybe something completely better comes along with better fail-safes. And it's not going to be anything we already have. It's going to have to be something completely new, probably by another set of anonymous actors that come up with a new idea, supported by a lot of people way before the launch. And even that's going to be very difficult because Bitcoin is our only shot at decentralized money, because what made Bitcoin decentralized money is the fact that for a year and a half, it spread around the world without having any freaking value. And yes, guys like Roger Ver collected a lot of it, but it's as decentralized as we will ever get. I don't think it's going to happen again, which is why it needs to remain decentralized, and none of those other coins are able to even come close.
I think
can Tone clarify one thing here?
Sure.
You put a little bit of FUD into the air there. Be a little careful, because you made it seem like it is possible for the China coin people to win, when it is not possible for them to win. Like you have said on all of your shows that it's not happening, but you just put forth a scenario where it could happen. Let's just clear that up, because a lot of people, we got 200 people watching this. Pound that like button. I don't want to spread any fear here. They're not.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. No, that's a good point. I don't believe they have a chance to win, but they keep sending out these tweets saying that, well, look at CoinDance, look at like the majority is supporting Bitcoin Unlimited, which is complete, bullshit.
Do you think it makes them stronger when they do stuff like that?
To the new people, maybe. But yeah, no, I do not think that the China coin has a chance to win. The question is, how long can they prevent SegWit activation? And as the longer it takes for SegWit to activate, blocks are being full, transactions are taking longer, transactions are getting more expensive, and it is an annoyance. And I'm running into this problem myself. When I get a bunch of these $1, $2 donations from my YouTube channel, they're now stuck in my wallet. I cannot move them because my transaction fee to move one Bitcoin is now like $50, $60, and I'm not willing to pay it.
60? You mean cents, not $60. 60 cents.
No, dollars. No, dollars.
I never had that.
No, this is the Roger Ver problem. This is the Roger Ver problem. I never had this problem. Do your Bitcoin donations go into like a cold storage wallet?
Oh, they just stay in one place. I've never tried to move them at all, so I'm not too worried about it.
Well, when so here's the Roger Ver problem that originally had all his panties in a bunch. Why we need bigger blocks? So Adam, so if you have a wallet, right, has been getting $1 to $2 donations, and they have added up over time, that you now have collected one full Bitcoin from donations between $1 and $10. You, let's say, got one full Bitcoin in donations. In order for you to send this Bitcoin to another wallet, your suggested mining fee will probably be close to $100, because your one Bitcoin was composed of like 300 transactions. And every transaction that went into it takes up a little bit of space. And if you're going to send that one Bitcoin out, that one Bitcoin might take up like 5% of the next block. And a miner is going to say, whoa, if I'm going to reserve 5% of the block space to your one transaction, you need to pay like 5% of all the fees on average that go into a regular block. So it's going to charge you like $100 suggested fee, or that transaction might get stuck and wait for the mempool to go empty, which could be like weeks. Okay, so this is an issue, and this issue is going to get worse, and why we do need SegWit.
Exactly. SegWit will fix this issue. Period.
Well, it'll fix the issue, but if SegWit comes in like 2 years, by the time SegWit comes in, it's not gonna completely fix the issue, right? The issue is gonna be so bad that SegWit comes in, it'll fix it, like it'll solve it by like 80%, but 80% of a really, really bad problem can still be a big problem.
But after we get the infrastructurally superior solution in there, then we can do a scaling, adjustment based on what is the actual size of the information now that it's not in an inferior situation where malleability is an issue.
Blake, I agree, right? But we're dealing with propagandists here, right?
No, I know, but we're so far off topic here. We're so far off topic. We didn't talk about the theoretical versus physical possibility or impossibility of BU or XT or anything like that forking the chain and causing damage to Bitcoin, which is really the only way to do it without a. They're
not gonna be able to fork the chain to cause damage to Bitcoin, but they're damaging Bitcoin by not allowing progress, right? So basically, had we already been working on with SegWit, we would not have a full mempool right now, and people would already be experimenting with Lightning. Instead, they're going to delay SegWit. SegWit is going to go in like next year or at the last possible moment. SegWit's going to come in there. It'll solve 80% of the problem. The problem will still be pretty damn big because they let it get in there so late.
This seems to rhyme very closely with how budgets are decided by governments. They don't change
right, and this is why
minute. That maybe that's just how big value transmission networks are. Maybe they're not causing damage. Maybe this is their fault.
Yeah, it's the way people behave. And then the moment SegWit gets in there, they're going to yell and scream, see, it didn't solve the problem because they got it in there like a year too late. They're going to go,
even if they do, the problem will be the problem will be measurably less. So anybody that says it didn't solve the problem, they'll be like, well, that's sophistry. So it's getting better. Let's continually move towards it.
Yeah, but that's not how people behave.
Let's not give these propagandists too much attention. Remember, part of my solution to all this issue is to ignore those trolls, the king of the trolls and all his propagandas.
Yeah. And I agree. I think we're giving them too much credit by saying that they're slowing this stuff down, because I don't believe that that's true.
So real quick, one of you guys talked about the 1920s. I think it was Blake. And I like putting up this chart just so people understand what a real bubble is and what's a real bubble and what is, So this is the Dow Jones. This is not the NASDAQ. I really need one of these for the NASDAQ. But is the .com bubble, this green circle right here at the top. And right next to it is the 2007 housing bubble. But if you go all the way here to the 20s, value of the stock market in the last 3 or 4 years going into the 1929 crash, the stock market went up like fourfold. Happened in the .com crash. The .com was maybe the market maybe doubled overall. Like the Dow Jones maybe went up 2x in like 3 or 4 years. But in the last few years, it went up like 4x. And then because it went up so far, it had a really big crash. We haven't seen anything like the 1929 crash. And right now, I think the Dow Jones is on pace for like 100,000. Like I think we get these smaller bubbles every few years, and then it takes off.
And I meant the 20s. I didn't mean 29 in the 30s. I meant the 20. I guess 29 is technically in the 20s, but I wasn't referring to big crashing. I was referring to major growth.
Well, yeah, right here, the raging 20s. That's right here is
exactly.
1920. Like the bottom right here where it touches the trend line is 1921.
Okay, so we're on the same page. I just want to make sure.
Right. So from 1921, the Dow Jones went from like 85 all the way to over like 450. So it went up like, 5, 6 times throughout the 20s, with the last couple of years being ramped up.
Hey guys, I want to give everyone time for a conclusionary statement here, because we're getting to the hour mark. I just wanted to say that I was informed by Andy Hoffman over email. I checked my email a second ago real fast. I don't usually do that. That Zero Hedge is reporting a massive ransomware attack goes global, and it involves ransomware for Bitcoin. Have any of the three of you heard about that?
Yeah, somebody just like an hour or two ago. It's out of the UK. I don't know what this organization is. I could probably check.
My accounts have all already been compromised, so I'm
it's some kind. It seemed silly. Let me. I forgot the organization already.
If it's massive, and they're using Bitcoin, that's their business. That's good for Bitcoin. I'll be less.
Well, you notice that the ransomware attack isn't asking for Ether.
Yeah, that too.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Man, I'm like trying to see.
Well, so no, I wanted to put that news out there so people, because I'll probably get a lot of emails afterwards. Have you heard about this? So yeah, I did hear about it. Don't know much about it yet.
They're asking for a very small sum. It's like some kind of a big organization that got hacked, where they could have asked for like tens of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin and probably got it, but they're asking for like $300 in Bitcoin. So the person that informed me about it, he's like, it's possible. It's like a 12-year-old, and all he needs is like $300, and he doesn't realize that he can ask for like tens of thousands.
I don't know. Zero Hedge says it's a massive ransomware attack goes global. I don't know. I put the link on the side here if you guys want to click on it.
My rule of thumb is this. My Bitcoin is safe. I don't care. Like if my computer gets crypto locked, I'll just throw it in the garbage, or I'll like reset this computer needs to go in the garbage. But in general, I'll just reset the operating system. I don't store anything. I don't care about anything anymore. Like any of my emails can get hacked. I couldn't care less. Like my Facebook, it's irrelevant. Like my view on change. The only security I care about is my Bitcoin.
People might social engineer your friends. You got to be a little bit careful. I mean, like, do the maximum security load you can. Like practice.
You've known me long enough through these channels. I have no friends.
Well, we have 200
such good friends. I can't believe that.
We have 200 live viewers. Pound that like button, people. All right, BTC, Benny, BTC sessions. Use some conclusionary statements, things that were left out of the show that you'd like to add.
I think just in general, I think that the altcoin market recently is insane. Like it was as of, I think it was the 1st of March, I was looking, the altcoin market cap was sitting at 3 billion. And now I don't even know what it's at. It's over 20. It was like last time I saw, when I was looking at that point, it was 23 billion. So that kind of growth in that space, in that short of a time, when I see people on a regular basis coming in, not even knowing what they're putting money into and not understanding, like they've just heard of cryptocurrency like that week, and they're dropping tens of thousands of dollars into it. That gives you an idea of what's happening right now. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to say was looking at Bitcoin price specifically. It looks, I don't know, maybe Tone can talk to this a little bit, but it reminds me of 2013 in that we had it was 1 year after the halving. We had a kind of spring summery bubble followed by a November bubble 1 year after the halving. And I have no idea, like I'm not into TA or anything like this. I don't do technical analysis, but I mean, I know that history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So I don't know, maybe Tone can speak to that a little bit, but.
Tone, speak to it and conclusionary statements.
But without the mute, though.
Yeah, I'm working on that. So, I mean, I was around for that 2013 bubble. It's definitely not going up as fast. Like in percentage terms, it's nowhere near like that. I mean, we would need to go to like 10,000 this year in order to match what happened in 2013 by percentage terms. And I just don't see us going to 10,000 this year. Now, if the altcoin bubble pops, it's possible we go to like 5 to 6,000. But I don't see us going to 10,000. And even if we do go to 5 or 6,000, we're probably going to correct 40, 50%. I don't see it like that. Now, I see the hype over Bitcoin very, very similar to the hype in 2013, but Bitcoin is way easier to get now, way better. The security is way better on all these exchanges than it was back then. I mean, the chances of theft are the same. Like the system has evolved since that time. So, which is another reason why it's going to be very difficult for Bitcoin to go up as quick.
Also, I think as compared to 2013, everybody, like, basically, if you were jumping in on the hype, you were jumping in just on Bitcoin hype. Now, if you're jumping in on the hype, you're going, well, maybe I'll put it in alts. That wasn't really as much of a thing in 2013.
Well, 2013, right now, Gox still around. It wasn't Gox responsible for 80% of trades and had Willy Bot messing the price around. So what you can actually do is mathematically try to dial back that influence to if they had regular influence, and then try to cut back a percentage to see what kind of pattern would rhyme without that same factor. But I mean, it's not going to be exact, but it could be a good idea.
Now, alts are experiencing what Bitcoin did in 2013. Because we're already, hearing all these rumblings about Poloniex and there being DDoS. I mean, we're down to what, Poloniex and Bittrex, or is it Bitter? I don't know. There's really only 2 altcoin exchanges right now. So there's just, first of all, like if your favorite altcoin that's a little bit off the beaten path, and even an altcoin like a Ripple or even some of the top 10 altcoins, it's like if it sees a mouse, it can scare the entire herd, right? And the herd can quickly exit. If one of those 2 altcoin exchanges decides to exit scam, and the other exchange happens to be DDoS'd by someone, screwing around on his computer that wants to say, haha, let me watch the zebras scatter, right? Like, there's just little tiny things that can completely this is what Bitcoin went through in 2013 with like everything is going well, and then there's like a scare, like the Mt. Gox scare. Like, Bitcoin doesn't have these one-off events that's going to completely crash it. The Bitcoin Unlimited probably came as close as they could, and the chances of that repeating now is smaller. It's very hard to scare the Bitcoin herd. But to scare an altcoin herd, not only as the whole, but even as an individual altcoin, is very, very simple. And the higher it goes, the worse the collapse will be, like any bubble.
Are you more confident in that than you were before you saw that the people at the conference didn't know about the user-activated soft fork? Are you think that they're more like zebras now than you thought they were before, and that they'll scatter because they're not aware?
Yeah. As more and more new people coming in, like especially when you hear people, well, I came to, and this is why Coinbase is not doing a service. I was like, well, I came to Coinbase to buy Bitcoin, but I see this Ethereum at like, way, way cheaper than Bitcoin, and it's pretty much the same thing. And they're like, oh, I see this Litecoin. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I was shocked that they added Ethereum before Litecoin. Charles Lee works there. Litecoin is at least, a script system of similar. Like, I couldn't believe they added Ethereum first.
Do they have an explanation on the site, or at least links to what each token is, or is this just like, here, buy this?
I haven't checked.
Even if they do, it's all about who writes it. I mean, they're gonna let me write it? I mean, it's
just link to your crypto scam videos, right?
It's just a picture of Tone Vays giving the finger.
Again, there's some weird logic behind it. Some people don't understand. They can buy 0.01 Bitcoin, so they just say, well, I'll get Litecoin instead. It's cheaper. They don't know they can get a fraction of Bitcoin.
And hopefully one day Litecoin will be the same price as Bitcoin. Seems like a reasonable assumption to make. And it's like, oh. But I still think it's not as bad as Ethereum was. I think it was just like, why would you add Ethereum before Litecoin?
Well, okay.
Yeah. Also, I
Tone,
just want to. Sorry. Someone pointed out in the chat that this year we had two scares. One, the more recent one was Bitcoin Unlimited, but the prior one was the Chinese regulators showing up at Chinese exchanges. And yeah, those were like scares in Bitcoin, but those scares caused like a 20% drop in Bitcoin. Like 20 to 25%. We haven't had a 90% scare in Bitcoin since 2013. But I think all of these altcoins are due for a 90% drop because, you know, when you go up too far, just like my picture of the stock market in the 20s, you will fall 90%. Bitcoin's done it like 3 times.
Well, also the China regulator scare that, you know, dropped to 10%, 20%. Everyone has to get used to it in this space in Bitcoin. That will happen again. Something
They do it a lot. Even
that's the
China
thing.
specifically.
That's the thing. Right, but Bitcoin is such a more diverse, more like stable market that each of these scares is going to be less and less and less effective. While the altcoin haven't like Ethereum saw like a scare when the Dow happened, and when it fell from like 20 down to like $7, and but now they've gone up from 7 to 100. Well, the next scare is going to drop them 75 to 90% again until they have a more stable base.
Their next smart contract DAO is going to drop.
Right. Oh, did you guys see?
You'll have to see. Even Ethereum is better tested than the other ones. Of all the top tier altcoins, if you Ethereum is better tested than it has had its DAO moment. The other ones, Monero, Dash, Litecoin, they haven't had a similar moment like that, which is what you're trying to say. But I mean, Bitcoin has had many more tests than any of these altcoins. Obviously, I understand your point.
Oh yeah.
Tone, do you have a conclusionary remarks, or were those your conclusionary remarks? Anything that was left out that you wanted to mention?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, we're pretty much discussing Bitcoin in relation to altcoins on this show. I think I've said everything there is to say. I know everyone's asking me when my next market analysis is. So maybe I'll like close out with like just one chart or something, just to, you know.
Yes, please, everyone. Please, everyone. Again, Tone's links are below. How you can talk to him as he's working on that, and everyone's links are below, so you can watch them on whatever shows they're on, and they're all over the place. Blake, what's something that I left? You know, anything you want to bring up that was left out? Some conclusionary remarks as Tone gets his thing together there.
Well, my remarks are basically like I talked earlier about how the space is small and there's going to be so many people attracted to it. And I think that one of the most valuable things that people can do is to carefully articulate things. If you can articulate things, that's one of the most powerful gifts there are. So we need more people that are able to articulate what they think, saying what they think about Bitcoin. And then, you know, even if you're dumb or ignorant or wrong and people come and tell you you're dumb or ignorant or wrong, then you can continually learn from that and get sharper and sharper and sharper and better. And after several years, you're going to be extremely good at articulating exactly what you mean in terms of these different systems. And that is very, very, very important for us to develop and to have, because we can't just have a few different, you know, mouthpieces with a high bus factor, where if one of them gets, you know, hit by a bus or something like that, one of the major spokespeople for Bitcoin is dead. Well, you can have, you know, spokespeople, we can have, you know, our public figures, but we need the community to make a commitment to itself, to sharpen your ability of articulation, and to go out and to say what you think. Because if you don't go out and say what you think and risk, you know, people coming back and making fun of you, you're not being, you're not existing. You're actually, you know, suppressing your impact on the world. You're not being. And a lot of this is coming from, I was just recently watching a lot of Jordan Peterson, and he's saying almost the exact same stuff that I was saying when I spoke at Bitcoin in the Beltway, in terms of, even back then, we need more and more people, not just involved, but constantly trying to articulate better and better and better and better exactly what's going on, why it's valuable, and what needs to continue to happen. And I think that everybody should jump on that, you know, bandwagon and continue to try to sharpen your articulation skills.
You know what? That's a great point. Everyone out there, and I have said this on my show before, you guys in the chat who are just, you know, trolling around or whatever, anything, that's fine, but make your own shows. Put yourself out there. It's going to help the community. You know, being in the being in the chat is fine and everything, but getting out there, putting your face out there, putting your voice out there, it's going to help. We need more voices out there spreading the word, spreading a logical word. So that's a really positive point. I like that.
I just want to say too, or you can troll people. A great way to troll people is by being very articulate in your counter arguments to them. Like, it's a great way to troll people. Just calling somebody a dick, they're going to be like, oh, somebody on the internet doesn't like me, boo-hoo. But if you can articulate a crushing response that's logically tenable and it's not, you know, fallacy or ad hom, that's an amazing way to troll people. So, you know, sharpen your trolling skills.
Yes, sharpen those on the Peter Schiff channel, actually. So, Tone, you wanted to conclude with your chart. Take it away.
Sure. So I tweeted this out yesterday when the price was, you know, still up here, because I usually draw my arrows. So the price was at like 1850 when I sent this out, and I was looking for a pullback down to 1800. This is a Bitfinex chart, so adjust accordingly. And now I'm looking for it to go back up. So I still think we have a little more room left. And one of the reasons why I think we have room left is because of the altcoin bubble. Like, otherwise, I would already be calling Bitcoin a bit overbought and looking for it to pull back. But I think the altcoin bubble is starting to pop. I think it's getting way out of control. So I do see Bitcoin going up a little bit higher. I'm not ready to call a top in Bitcoin yet. So here we go. And here is the daily chart. Normally, the price ever gets to the top of this range where we are right now, I would call for a fall, you know, maybe all the way down to 1300. But because of this altcoin bubble that I'm expecting to pop, I am expecting Bitcoin to either ride the top of the channel up to like 2000 and beyond, and then correct. And here, that was Bitfinex. And finally, here is Bitstamp. Again, it's gone up a little too far, making a little pullback. I'm not expecting anything major to fall in Bitcoin at the moment. I know it's kind of high up, but again, it's this altcoin insanity where all that money should really be pouring into Bitcoin. And I think that it will, and then we will correct.
All right. Well, on that note, this has been an awesome show. These guests are rocking it. They're veterans of the space. They're veterans of this show. So remember, everyone, I do post a new video here every day. So there's gonna be a new video tomorrow. But every Friday, we do This Week in Bitcoin. I do different guests every week. We try to rotate in people every 7 to 8 weeks, different combinations. So please pound that like button if you liked it today. I had a blast. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Check out the notes section below. Pound that like button. Shabbat Shalom from Israel. Bye-bye, everyone.